has payments and lending experience for more than 20 years in the BFSI and tech sectors. She's got a very strong track record in driving growth, innovation, launching new businesses, worked with leading organizations. And I mean, right from P&L management, payment products, lifecycle management, consumer finance, portfolio and risk management, card payments, mobile payments, consumer marketing. Noopur has pretty much done it all. She's one of our own before, like joining NPCI Bharat Bill Pay. Noopur used to lead the India business at SMB or the India SMB business at PayU. Currently, she's working as the CEO of NPCI Bharat Bill Pay, a subsidiary of NPCI, and she's formulating and deploying business strategies aligned with the NBBL's mission to establish a secure and accessible payment infrastructure for recurring payments. Previously, Noopur has held positions like Chief Corporate Business and Alliances at Airtel Payments Bank, Country Head SMB at PayU, like I mentioned, and also Citibank, ING, Samsung, and like list of very credible organizations. So very, very humble to have you, Noopur, on board with us. The kind of experience and the kind of insights you bring, you worked across B2B, B2C, are I think that everybody's looking to learn a lot from. So jumping sort of straight to one of my first questions that I have, and like I said, guys, at any point of time you want to just ask questions, please post them on chat. So actually jumping to one of my first questions, most of the founders are here. You've actually seen the financial services industry evolve a lot over the last 20 years, right? And now currently as the CEO of BBPS at NPCI, how do you see the future of fintech in India? What is your view on the opportunities and the challenges in the sector?
I think most of us intuitively know it. I don't need to say it, that the future of fintech in India is extremely bright. Given the fact that, there's a lot of digitization push happening across the board, whether it is government or regulator or we ourselves as an ecosystem. And, despite all digitization, there are almost 500 million users yet to start their digital payment journey. So the opportunity is, of course, huge, which also means, for any startup, it is a very promising place to be in. And, this is very obvious in numbers. 5 years back, we used to have, only, I think, a few thousand startups. From there, last year, I think the recorded number is 90,000 startups, and most of them in fintech, some domain, some subsector or the other. That itself says that a lot to be done even today, and a lot to be achieved. But having said which, there are certain things to be kept in mind by all of these startups. The fintech industry specifically is pretty, all of us bean counters and erstwhile bankers really, focus a lot on bottom line. As we move forward, even the people who are investing, be it angel, VC, PE, home offices, whoever is investing in the sector is also started to look at the ratios and the unit profitability in future, if not immediately. So as long as some of these things are kept in mind, I think we'll be producing many more unicorns from the fintech domain. Some of them hopefully from this cohort itself. In the coming years. So that's what I think.
That's great to hear and very encouraging as well for all of us. I mean, everybody's in this space who's here on this call. So definitely very encouraging. So like you touched upon, right, the fintech ecosystem has just grown. And of course, the numbers day in, day out, there's a new number to support that. So in fact, the scale of BBPS has become 4x in just 2 years. Today, it's processing north of 20,000 crore worth of transactions monthly. What has been your mantra to scaling up this platform as our founders are also, looking to achieve similar scale?
You were talking about the growth of BBPS. Yeah, we are a 2-year-old organization, so as much a startup as most of you. We have, however, in the last because of partnerships that ecosystem as its participants, its partners who then take it forward. And I'll give you an example of Cred, a very recent partnership. And in the last 9 months itself, they have become one of the top 3, what we call COUs or customer interfaces for us. And therefore, just picking the right people to work with has really worked out for us. But, something I keep telling my team, and I would say it again, is that numbers are really the output, right? Thankfully for us, as NPCI is a not-for-profit organization, it is really not the output numbers that we focus on, but what goes in, and what value we create for every person in our ecosystem, which is much more important, right? And that's the only thing we've been doing. Some of it right, some of it which hasn't worked out. And I completely take accountability of all the failure, all the credit for everything that has gone well to my team. But unless you're trying a lot of things, and unless you are actually thinking about what value you bring to the table, I don't think growth can be taken for granted. And despite the fact that we are one of its kind platform in the entire world, not just India, but at least I don't take the support from regulators, support from partners for granted. I continuously engage myself at all levels, try to understand what is happening in the ground, what are the aspirations, what are some of the concerns that partners have, and that engagement keeps us going and keeps us on our toe. Because of that, for example, someone said that, hey, onboarding is taking a lot of time in your ecosystem, and we immediately put a crack team in place to work only on onboarding. Someone else said that the billers don't have a visibility of what's happening at BBPS, and we worked with a partner and got a biller dashboard in place, so on and so forth. Just a few examples, but my ecosystem is quite complex because you have billers and the biller aggregators on one side, customers, and the COUs on the other side. And across all 4 of them, we have to continuously think that why should a customer come to us? Why should a biller come to us? How do I make it more seamless for others to join us? And some of these questions and creating solutions for those issues really has helped us scale. Although we've scaled only 10 times so far, our stated objective is to scale, much more in the coming 3 to 5 years. I have to cross 1 billion transactions per month, where I was at 1 billion transactions last year. So it is, you can understand the kind of scale we are going to go after. And I'm pretty sure it will happen as long as we are doing the right thing and looking at the pain areas in the right spirit. So long answer to your short question, Sanya. But yeah, much more to do.
No, I think that gives a lot of perspective to our founders as well. The kind of scale that you're looking to achieve, how would you think about products and growth in the light of ever-changing regulations? For example, BBPS is built on recurring payments. So now, in 2021, recurring payments saw a very major regulation in terms of AFAs coming in, additional factor authentication, and that did disrupt subscription flows for at least a lot of the OTT players, etc. Right? In fact, some global companies like Apple and Netflix. I think Apple definitely, said that they will not comply to the regulation. So now, when you're thinking about this kind of scale, how do you do that in the light of ever-changing regulation? What is your advice to the founders?
I have gone from being very far away to the regulator to now at one point of time where we are working more closely with them, and therefore, there's a lot of appreciation and empathy that I've found in working with them to realize that, they have kept our economy really shielded from a lot of things that happened globally, right? Whether I talk about the subprime crisis way back in 2008, or I talk about, the recessionary trends that multiple countries are seeing, or even the crypto phenomena that a lot of people have burned their hands on. So, I think our regulators really keep themselves abreast and keep our economy protected in more ways than one. And it is an ode to that fact that, our governor has also been called out as one of the best governors in the world. Not one of the best, sorry, the best governor in the world. That ranking came recently. Having said which, I think the issue comes in when a lot of fintechs try to operate or start to operate in the gray zone, right? Take my word for it, if you reach out to certain departments in RBI, they will be more than open to hear you out, meet you, give you suggestions, and encourage you, right? But instead of doing that, what we start, over the last 2 cycles at least, one around the entire prepaid, instance, and one more, a lot of people were operating in the gray zone, which was ambiguous. If we do that, then expect at some point of time the clarity to come in, and not all clarity will be in your favor, right? So instead of doing that, if you see many people operating in the same zone, it is better to proactively reach out to the regulator, either directly or via your partners, to ask them for clarity, or seek them to put in the guideline. That's how the P2P platforms got, in fact, they reached out to RBI to say that, we think we should be licensed and recognized, right? And it worked out well for them. So, so many organizations and forums that can be reached out to. When in doubt, it's better to bounce it off someone rather than just continue to create your product and business around something which is not extremely clear. And in the same light, while I'll not name the banks, but some banks are more aggressive than the others. Pick your partners right is the other suggestion I would make. So not a straightforward answer around the product and the regulators continuously evolving. I think there are 2 or 3 extremes. There is one extreme in certain countries where they let the fintechs reach a very, very high level and then ask for the pound of the flesh. Thankfully, we are not that country. There are some other countries that do not let innovation happen. And a lot of Southeast Asian countries are, guilty of that as well. Thankfully, our regulators have a good balance where they observe and let certain subsector or certain product and solution reach a certain tipping point before they come in, right? Because there are so many things which may or may not work out, and in contrast, there might be certain ideas that will really work out well. But trust me, I mean, directly or indirectly, if you seek advice, you will get good advice from some place or the other around regulation. So that's my take.
Very interesting, Noopur. Noopur, I just have one question here. Like, is it possible, like, for the startups to even, let's say, discuss with the regulators or the incumbents, what is their roadmap for the future, right? Because, like, as a startup, when I'm building for the future. I might know what is the regulation today, but like what is expected to come out, so that we can also plan much for a longer time frame.
Yeah, so very good question, Suchir. Look, what the regulator is setting out to do is always published in their vision document. So the vision document should ideally be the North Star, which will give some indication of what they're thinking, what they're about to bring forward, so on and so forth. So that is one document I can point to. But more importantly, a lot of regulation happens or a lot of circulars come out as a reaction. I don't think anyone plans for it, so that is not a likelihood. But another good indicator to that is, so for example, we at NPCI continuously do outreach programs for a lot of fintechs. Then there's an organization called PCI, which keeps reaching out to fintechs, and gather their thoughts and questions and takes it to the regulator. Similarly, I am aware a couple of banks are doing it, but most importantly, right there in Bangalore, you have the RBI Innovation Hub. And I know the entire team is extremely, extremely open to conversations. So there are these forums that you must make yourself part of or make yourself privy to, and then seek that question to seek that forum to answer your questions.
Just by a show of hands, how many have engaged with NPCI? One.
I'm sorry?
I'm saying just a show of hands, how many have engaged with NPCI? 2, 3. What is stopping the rest of us is what I would like to understand, Maybe we don't know whom we go to, because now you see we have a very good time. Noopur is here. We should understand, any hindrance you have felt, that probably I will not get answered. Maybe I'm very small right now, or yeah, ye log to main likhunga jawab nahi denge. What is stopping us from engaging with them?
A presumption that as a startup, we won't get a response probably from a regulator. Probably.
Okay. So you feel that you will write to them, you will not get a response.
A regulator maybe, but NPCI, that will not be the case.
Yes.
Yeah. NPCI, RBI Innovation Hub, like Noopur has said, like these bodies are there. PCI, how many of us are members of PCI? Okay. Very few. So I think, Noopur, there is something, which is hindering the startups from reaching out to NPCI. I really don't, how do you think, we can overcome this? I'll say, I don't know, is it fear? Is it inhibition, doubt? What do you think? What would you tell them?
No, so I started with that, and I will again reiterate, Suchir, thank you for making that point, is that any ecosystem is only as big as the partners.
Right.
And everyone, the phone pays of the world, and you take the name, they started small, but even when they started engaging with all the right people. Right people in the sense for the right guidance and the right support, right? So please do not hesitate. In fact, as a founder, it is your role to just keep pestering everyone around you. So don't let anything stop you from doing it, right? I can tell you about BBPS that we have something called as a TSP application on our website. And, when people just fill in the application, the mail reaches a bunch of us, and we reach out and we do conversations with each person who, reaches out to us. So take my word for it. We are there to support. We are there to answer, and we will always make time, because that's where the next phone pay is hidden.
Got it. Yeah, actually, I think my next question is the same question which Devyani has. So I'll just, in fact, leave it to Devyani. You please go ahead and ask it. It's better.
I was just going to ask what this whole group of fintech founders should be excited about or thinking about in terms of what's coming soon from Bharat Bill Pay. And maybe just related to that very ignorant basic question on feature functionalities, but if you could help us navigate for those of us working, say, with mutual funds, insurance, collecting insurance premiums and things, how to think about the difference between auto pay versus bill pay and making that choice.
Sure. Devyani, thanks for asking that question. Okay, so while I alluded to it, okay, but let me just reiterate what BBPS is all about. Okay, a lot of people confuse us for being a payment app, which we are not, a payment type, which we are not, a platform, which we are not, okay, an aggregator, which we are not, right? If we are not any of this, then who are we, right? That is the core question. We are an information exchange platform. Okay, payments is incidental. We are an information exchange platform, right? What that means is that the customers seek out a certain information, we get them, okay? And if the customer chooses to work on that information, right, we communicate it to the other side saying, you know, this transaction has been made successfully, right? Now, if you therefore see us as at a very base level, right, we have an ecosystem, okay, which can be leveraged by each one of you on this call today, right? We are not limited to bills, right? However, I want to differentiate myself also from payments. Okay, just bear with me, indulge me for a couple of more minutes before I I take you to what point I'm going to, right? So the things that I do not do and don't intend to do in future are twofold. I don't want to enable P2P payments. I do not want to enable e-commerce or in-store payments, right? These are the things that I will never venture into, right? However, what I intend to become, and that journey has already started, is the de facto and the only collections platform in the country. Okay, so whatever we do, if you look at it from the collector side, it will start to make sense. Okay, now let me give you an example. Why did Tata Power or any of these electricity companies ever came to BBPS? It was for the simple reason that there were many instances where you were traveling to another city. This was 20 years back, 25 years back, where you had transferred to another city but had family in, let's say, Delhi, and you wanted to pay their bill and you could not do it in the past, right? So they decided to come to us because we suddenly, with a single integration, allow their collections to happen through both digital and physical channels, 1,000+ of digital channels. So PhonePe, Cred, Amazon Pay, you name the app, name the interface, they're on BBPS, right? So as a collection point, so you talked about lending, you talked about insurance, I think. So as an insurance company, what do I need? I need the customer to be able to pay the premium from wherever he wants, right? And through whichever mode he wants. Now, when you talk about auto pay, etc., they're all linked to a particular instrument type. So if it is UPI auto pay, it is linked to UPI. If it is a debit card or credit card auto pay, it's linked to that instrument. But with the BBPS, we are instrument agnostic. So you can choose UPI, you can choose credit card, debit card, wallet, this and that, and this and that, even cash, okay? And it is available on BBPS. So as a service provider, which is into lending is the fastest growing category because all the NBFCs, saying, hey, why did I not do this before? Why can't I have customers pay from any location, from any physical or digital channel, as long as I'm getting my money in time, right? Same is true for FASTag and multiple other categories, which are seeing value in a single collection and many options for their customers, because today's customers want a choice. We are not okay with saying you can use Uber only if you download Paytm, right? That happened 5 years back. It is not going to happen today. As a customer, you will say, okay, I will go to Ola, but I will not download Paytm. Do what you want to, right? So today's customers want choice. And by coming on to BBPS, these service providers are able to give choice to their customers. And what happens as one of these apps, the reason why PhonePe came directly onto our platform, the reason why Cred came to us and Slice Money is talking to us, and I can talk about 10 other new startups which are joining hands with us, is, this is something that we learned again 15 years back as banker, is what you call today the DAOs and MAOs, right? We used to say that if the customer has a reason to come back to the bank, he will keep money with us. He will continue to stick with us. He will not go away from us, right? Now, what is the linkage to BBPS, therefore? Because BBPS at one point of time gives 10 different use cases to these apps to engage their customers, right? So customers, if they are using the same app for paying for their electricity, paying for education fee, paying for DTH bills, so on and so forth, then he keeps coming back to the apps, and that is what is valuable for them, right? So, like I said, BBPS is very different from any of the auto pays. At this point of time, in fact, RBI has said that you will not be limited to recurring bill payments. So this is the guideline which came last year in December. We are not restricting ourselves to recurring payment anymore. And we will be very soon rebranding, repositioning ourselves to a collection platform, because that is what we truly are. One more thing. So when we talk about collections, right, what comes to mind automatically is some bit of loan collections and this collection and that collection. No, it is really about me as a service provider being able to ask for money and receive it, right? Now, not only electricity and insurance and lending companies need to do it, but the collection facility is required by your milkman also today, is required by your child's tuition teacher also today, right? Today, what happens is the guy who delivers flour at my store, every first, he clicks a picture of the invoice, right? I look at that invoice, then go to Paytm or PhonePe app and then transfer him money. I'm sure this entire thing can be much more seamless, right? The other thing, when I start talking about collections, because some of you will definitely be in B2B space, is even B2B value chain is collections, okay? You call it invoice instead of bill, you call it account receivable instead of anything else. But the minute we have the manufacturer asking the wholesaler to give him the money, and the wholesaler asking the retailer to give him the money, that's again where BBPS will play a role in future. In fact, we are working on a new platform that will get launched pretty soon, right? So if you're a new bank, you can provide your customers 10 use cases. If you have a service provider or you're aggregating service providers, you can tell them that most cost efficient and with the widest reach can happen through BBPS. Interestingly, we've seen two companies whose valuations have been mind-blowing in the recent past, only working on and working with us, right? A recent one was a company called Setu. All of you are sitting in Bangalore, I'm sure you are aware. They started off with bridging the need of BBPS integrations, right? And suddenly, they were valued for millions of dollars. And the other company that, of course, you are aware of, and I always use it when I'm talking about business case for BBPS, is BillDesk, right? BillDesk with its $4.5 billion valuation also build its entire offering around what we do in partnership with them today, right? So Devyani, sorry, long answer to your short question, but irrespective of the size, irrespective of the business you are in, I'm sure we can find something to work together.
Thanks a lot, Noopur. I think that was really enlightening for me, at least. I didn't know, that BBPS is doing so many things, and we could, there are, so many ways for startups to work with BBPS. Any of you actually already working with BBPS, like, any use case you have integrated? Yeah, Gaurav. I saw your long question on the chat,
Yeah.
and you
So,
don't count your work with PhonePe before on BBPS. Are you working with them on FinStack?
not with PhonePe, but with BBPS, we have started the engagement to become TSPs. And
Okay.
that is again to explore a solution for the problem that I've highlighted in the chat as well. So, Noopur, I'm quite sure you must be aware that one of the problems that BBPS faces is the fetch to pay ratio. So just for the larger chart as well, I'll just explain, in a quick brief, that essentially in BBPS is a fundamentally profitable engagement for any startup to engage in, because you get commissions for the bill payments that happen. And those commissions usually exceed the MDR you will be charged on the payment gateway side as well. So it's always a fundamentally profitable engagement that you have with BBPS. But for you to recover the CAC, that is the cost of acquisition for acquiring a customer, you need to have that customer to pay repeatedly on your platform. That is when you'll actually be able to derive the value from the customer. So every single company, whether it is PhonePe, Paytm, GPay, or Cred, they are fighting to become the first company that sends you that notification that your bill is ready and please pay the bill on our platform.
Yeah.
So what they do is, even before the bill is generated, or even when they think the bill is to be generated, they start doing the bill fetches on their backend systems, so that they are the first company to tell you that, hey, your bill is ready. Now, what happens is NPCI as an entity has very good infrastructure and architecture, and they're able to handle these volumes. But when you look at the billers, when you look at Bescom, when you look at West Bengal Electricity Biller, when you look at Dakshin Haryana Electricity Board, these are billers that do not have very strong technical capabilities, and they are unable to handle this load of the traffic, and this affects everybody. So if a customer genuinely wants to pay a bill, the server is always down at the biller end, because of which they're never even able to know what their bill is, and they're not able to pay online. And now this is one side of the problem, which is understandable that companies want to run reminder engines. At the same time, now where the regulations that I have highlighted out which create the situation is that for any entity that wants to be consumer facing in the BBPS system, they either need to get an OU license, or they need to have an agent license. Now that provides them with free bill fetches. So there is no repercussion for an agent or an OU to continuously keep spamming the BBPS ecosystem for doing repeated bill fetches, because the bill fetches are free. How companies are exploiting this is particularly in a use case like lending. So in lending, people ask for proof of address and proof of identity. Proof of address is usually your Aadhaar card, PAN card, or driving license or passport. Not PAN card, but the other three documents. But the problem is that the address on those documents is an old address. You will never be actually accommodating at that address which is on those documents. So they ask for your utility bill. They will ask you to upload an image of your electricity bill along with your loan application. And this electricity bill, the way it is printed by these authorities, there is no OCR engine in the world that is actually able to apply OCR and be able to actually do anything on top of it, because the font is very small and the customer is not smart enough to take a good photo of that bill.
You need to try
So
to
what
extract.
yeah, and that would be a unicorn startup. If they're able to
Please
do
go on.
OCR on these
Yeah.
bills, it is a
Yeah.
unicorn startup right away.
Hmm.
But so what ends up happening is,
Yeah.
these operational staff, they will then look at the bill, they will look at the consumer number, and they will do a bill fetch on an app like PhonePe or
Gaurav, let's
Paytm.
try to summarize the question, please.
Yes,
Just
yes.
each
So
directly.
these regulations, they essentially incentivize fintech players to spam the system. where they do not have the intention of doing a bill payment, but only to do bill fetching. And even now, when we are working with NPCI as a TSP to explore a solution for this, we are realizing that at the end of the day, we have to turn a company into an agent entity or an OU. And if they become so, then they have a complete freedom to spam the BBPS system to get bill fetches repeatedly. So I wanted to understand from Nupur, like, what could be a good way to solve this? Because this is an information use case, as you already mentioned, that the
Yeah,
address on
Gaurav,
the
I've
bill is local
understood the
address.
question. Thanks for asking it. It is a very, very, specific domain question. I will answer it quickly and move forward, but we can have a discussion and conversation offline, because I would want to keep the conversation a little generic. Two things. One is to your question of multiple fetches. I'm not too sure if you're aware of UPMS. We have developed an application which is going live as we speak, where we will fetch the bills and we will broadcast it to all the players at the same time. So everyone has a parity, no more fetches. We are pushing everyone to adopt it so that we can move out of the fetch business. The second, to your point around the bill being fetched for the sake of customer identification, my utopian answer is, if customer is benefiting from it, why not? Why should I stop it? But more importantly, very soon we are working with a couple of organizations, including RBI Innovation Hub, so that we can mine this data and create some kind of a score that will help the lending companies, take better decisions basis the bill data. So we are proactively working on that. And fetches are a thing of past. We will not have it a few months down the line. That's my short answer to you. We can converse more later.
Definitely.
Thanks. Thanks, Nupur. Nupur, I'll just move on to my next question. I mean, you were leading $1 billion portfolio at Citi. You managed a growing SME portfolio at ING, then Samsung, then SMB at PayU, but now you're at NPCI. It's very, very, very impressive journey, all these big names. What has been your driving factor for your career, and I mean, like jumping over to NPCI from PayU, I mean, what really prompted that move?
Sure. So let me answer in two parts.
Sure.
And Sujir, I think you will have an appreciation of what I'm saying. I'm not too sure all the young founders here would be able to relate with it. But across a career of 10, 20 years at different phases in life, you look out for different things, right? At some point of time, the location's more important because your parents need you or some other reason. Another point of time, money is more important because you want to buy the house and look to save for your kids' university education abroad, so on and so forth. Right. I was at a stage in my career where the most important thing for me was to reflect whether I would be remembered for something I created, right? Call it impact, call it leaving a legacy behind, use any of the terms. But I think that's what happened 2 years back, where the most important thing for me was to do something which has the highest possible impact. I did not want to not thanks, Harry. So that's where I was, and which is why I let go of my very lucrative, very cushy, and very amazing job at PayU, because I sincerely wanted to give back to the country, and I'm very, very happy that I took that call, and I'm very privileged that I got that opportunity. Not everyone does. But coming from my background of my father who's been in the army and my mother who's been in the IS services, I think it had to happen sooner than later. It happened. But to the first part of your question, Suchir, I think what has always driven me and excited me about all the companies I've worked with and the projects I've done is that I've created something from scratch. And that's the only thing that excites me and brings me to the office even today, is that I feel that I'm working on something which is a creation rather than, so if you ask me to run something, I don't think I'll be excited or I would want to do it. Give me something to build, to ideate, solutionize, take it to the market. That's where I've been very fortunate to do it over and over again at Citi and Samsung and so on and so forth. Yes.
Yeah. Noopur, your answer reminds me of the Maslow's hierarchy we learned. You have reached the top, which is self-actualization. I mean, some of us are still trying to solve the basic needs, and you have reached the
Trust
top.
me, at NPCI, we are solving basic need problem every day, day in and day out.
The second thing you said, that you love to build things from scratch. So, Noopur, have you ever thought of doing your own startup? Yes. What would it be?
Having your own thing is kind of a lonely journey, and I don't think I'm ready for that yet. Having said which, just to add to the complication, there was a race between my husband and I as to who will take the plunge first. He did, so I don't have a choice at this point of time. So that's the honest answer.
Okay, that's interesting. But if you were to do something, let's just say theoretically, then what would it be? Just to give the rest of them some good ideas on what we can build on.
There are enough. See, ideas come a dime a dozen. So the entire effort and the entire success is in execution. I think all of you know that. It would be in the cusp of finance and technology for sure, because that's something that I've really enjoyed doing for the last 20 years. What would it be? I think I would try to dig gold at the bottom of the pyramid. So let me leave it at that.
No, quite interesting. You should save it. Otherwise, there are lots of people here to copy it.
No, so I haven't given any ideas, but I do think that, there's a lot to be done at the lower end of the pyramid for Bharat, as we call it.
Yeah.
And people think that it will not make business sense, but I think there can be models which can be worked upon. So
definitely.
That's what I think.
I agree with you. And I think, like now a lot of the rails are in place, which really makes a lot of this much easier than it would have been a few years back.
Yes.
I see one question from Apratim. Do you want to please come on mute, unmute yourself and ask it?
Yes. So actually, just a question on the UPI. So, I mean, we essentially work as an LSP for our NBFC partners who are DLA, the app. And I mean, the disbursements have already started and the payments actually are happening on a manual basis because we are not getting a good enough PG the PGs are under embargo for from the RBI's point of view. So is there a way through which, I mean, we can get access to, let's say, a UPI stack, where we can start enabling collections rather than waiting for the PGIs to, I mean, for the embargo to get over, etc. That's the question actually.
No, absolutely. And by UPI, you can leverage the entire BBPS for helping you with collections. If you want, you can just drop me a mail or probably send me a message through Sanya. I will connect you to my team that can help out. Should not be a challenge.
Okay, sure. In fact, we are already working with BBPS.
The interesting thing is that even at the companies where there's an embargo for PG merchant onboarding, the BBPS embargo does not exist. So just telling you.
Okay. In fact, for BBPS, we are working with Bill Avenue. I mean, we are an agent and the BPO is the Bill Avenue.
Yes. No, but touch base with us. We'll try to find something.
Sure. Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Great. I know, Noopur, we are running out of time. We're just left with 3 minutes. Any last questions from anyone, now is the great time for you to speak up. Just raise your hand or just come off mute.
Indranath, just to tell you, I launched this some time back, and I will be expanding the number of entities now. So we facilitate we also facilitate NRIs, PIOs, OCs to make payments back in India, right? So
Understood.
there's an business model around that, which is getting set up now.
So
So just
definitely, Noopur, we would like to then meet in person and discuss. But right now we have opened for businesses more towards export of goods and services, and this is just in plan, wherein
Yes.
tech stack is pretty much there from collection perspective, and then definitely integrating with BBPS will help us a lot in domestic one. But yes, that is still 6 months away, as I can see. But yes, we'll
Absolutely.
discuss. This is
Whenever
really
you're
helpful. Yeah.
my only thought process there is that since you're anyways looking for partners outside, this can be part of the conversation. That's all.
Very helpful. Very helpful. Definitely.
Noopur, I can see a lot of people who have the same use case as Apratim. So we'll appreciate if you could share some email ID with Sanya to whom they can reach out.
Sure.
And just help connect them to that person so that
Okay.
you can answer these questions.
Okay, sure. In fact,
Great.
yesterday I was with the regulator, and they have approved for many more entities to support on the cross border. And if not us, there's the sister entity, which is NIPL, which would again be happy to work with all of you. So we're always looking for good partners.
So, Noopur, just a question: how do the integrations or discussions are different when we do it with your entity or NIPL?
No. So these
NIPL, we were in
conversations,
discussion particularly for this, as you mentioned.
yeah, no. So our use cases or stacks are very different. NIPL is only working on UPI and RuPay cards as payment instruments. We, like I said, are an instrument agnostic platform. So if you have anything to do with UPI, please talk to them.
Yeah.
Don't care what instrument is getting used, then we can help you.
Understood. Yeah. It's worth initiating a discussion with you as well, because we want to create something like that.
Absolutely.
Great. Noopur, do we have some time? I think we had blocked the calendar for 5. So
yeah, I logged in a few minutes late, so yeah, I can carry on for another few minutes.
Okay, please. So we'll take another 5 to 6 minutes. Any other questions from anyone? Just please feel free to ask. Okay. Noopur, you were mentioning these different bodies. Like what I wanted to understand that today, regulation is somehow becoming like a moat for people to enter, where maybe regulated entities or incumbents have an advantage over fintechs, right? What advice would you give to a fintech? One thing is that become a RE, become a regulated entity yourself, and then do whatever you want. Or, how can they really partner with the incumbents, be compliant, but at the same time differentiate themselves, right? Because they're not here to do the same thing which already a regulated entity is doing.
Yeah. So I think, look, one of the things that I personally feel, and remember, I'm an ex-banker, so no offense to them, but what fintechs can do that banks will never ever be able to do is to solve for micro markets, because that's not their DNA. Their systems are not set up for that, and also it doesn't make sense for them because of innovator's dilemma. If you've heard of the term, they would want to keep doing more for a handful of customers who are paying customers for them, right? So better wealth products for sure, but solving for the spice exporters sitting in Guntur is something that they will never bother about. So my suggestion is that look for your own niche where you can build a solution in that niche, then be very sure to differentiate between vitamins and painkillers. Unless you're actually solving a big pain area, it'll be difficult to sustain beyond a point of time. So find out real problems that you can solve for using technology. And the compliances, leave it to the partner is the best way. If you're a small startup, if you already have enough and more going for you, then own compliance is a better route. But look for a good banking partner. Look for a good established partner who you can work with, because that will come in handy sooner than later. Sorry, Gaurav, you have a question around that.
Yeah. Gaurav, please go ahead.
That's a little bit of an unrelated question, but I mean, can I ask it right now, or I think which you complete with your point? Should I ask it?
That's okay. I think, Noopur, anything to add on the previous question? Because I think his is unrelated to this.
I was almost done. So essentially, 2 or 3 things I said, probably look for the micro segment that other, bigger players would not be interested in immediately. That's where disruption happens. The second thing I said was look out for real problem solving and not just, a Me Too product that you are bringing out. And the third is find good partners. That holds true for life as well as work. Yeah, Gaurav.
It's very interesting. We always talk about TAM, but every successful founder, or let's say, like even you are saying, focus on a niche area. Focus on a niche area. Don't spread yourself. Focus on a niche area. Yeah, please, Gaurav, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I have a question. I don't know if this makes a lot of sense for you, but this is something. So we work with in healthcare specifically, and we do lending for healthcare use cases. So we basically, give money to patients for their treatments or surgeries, right? So we want to understand if there is a product, it could be a RuPay card, or it could be any product where we can restrict the use case of that that the payment.
We have there's an NPCI wallet which can help you with that.
It's an NPCI wallet, okay. So you're talking about the e-rupee product.
Yes.
But I think that's limited to the DBT related use cases, or you can add different use cases to it.
You can add different use cases to that.
Can't you even restrict the bins on which you're paying for the card? I think you can restrict bins also, no? But again, maybe you should just mail the question across to them, or PayU can probably help you here also.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the Wibmo PPI can also do the restriction of merchants. So you might want to, Sanya, put him onto Suresh's team.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that would be helpful. I'll reach out to Sanya, and Noopur, I'll also reach out to you on this specific question in case you can help me with the ELT use case.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great.
I think all of you got queries for Noopur. Maybe you can just send me a line after this session, and then I'll send one consolidated email to Noopur.
That's all. I think Noopur, take more of your time.
Nothing from my side. Any other questions, people?
Great. Thank you very much, Noopur. It's been really enlightening, at least like getting to learn a lot about what is BBPS. Like I feel, so ignorant that having worked in fintech, I've never really tried to explore BBPS as a product either, and the way you explained how people should reach out more to incumbents, and, I'll keep it in mind. We should target the micro segment also. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Noopur. Fantastic session.
All of you, and really, I'm jealous of all of you doing so much of exciting stuff, sitting there in one of the best cities of India. So all the best, all the very best from my end, and we'll be in touch.